We have this tendency to apply sometimes like these quantum or
because
like
it is, because we live in a
these
quantum
macro
universe of
ideas
masculine and
to
feminine
everything.
energy.
What's going on? Quantum?
Too, though.
I think he's just saying to celebrate
I'm too many hard
differences doesn't mean
seltzers
we
in
exist
right
on
now.
two opposite poles.
How do we get to
and
quantum?
and I-
All right, ladies and gentlemen, this is going to be interesting. I have been drinking, and I think that men and women are very different in a lot of ways, obviously. But certainly, like, one of the things I've said is that men and women are more different than men of the same race or women of the same race. So I think, like, America, for example, is very racially diverse and in some ways divided. But those divisions, I think, can be kind of overstepped by the fact that, well, we all have similar experiences. Never mind. Let's just get to this.
Agree, step forward. Women have more privileges today than men.
I would disagree because I think there are different privileges that each one has. For example, men have the privilege of being able to wait longer to make decisions about when to start a family and all that. And so men have the advantage of time on their side, whereas women don't have that necessarily on their side. And it's not like there's an extreme cutoff. I think my mom had me when she was around 40 or something like that. But it is more difficult for women to get all of the parts of their lives together in a time-sensitive way. And then privileges that men have, it's generally helpful to just be stronger physically and have shorter lines in the airport bathroom, I don't know. Point is, there's definitely a balance of both for either sex.
I went back and forth on this one, thinking about the difference between more and different. I think women have distinctly different privileges than men have, but with this new feminist movement that is arising, more of the third, fourth wave, we are finding, I think, that women are
very interesting choice of clothing, I'll just say. Interesting doesn't imply anything.
Pedestalized above men in a lot of ways. There's affirmative action hiring and scholarships where women, sometimes even regardless of academic standing or achievement, are prioritized above men. But men also have different privileges that they get to access. I struggle to say more, but I think I do agree with the feminist movement now there is more.
If you are born into this life with a vagina, you inherently have 10 times more privilege than a man. From the time they are little, girls are always like doted on and you're so pretty and cute.
Very coddled.
They're coddled, right? As they should.
I will say what I have realized is everyone thinks, oh, well, it's very easy to be an attractive woman. And yes, for a variety of reasons. But also, like, would you honestly want all the time, every time you show your face in public, to know that, like, oh, there's probably a ton of men just thinking about having sex with me at any time? It's like, that would be rough. I get that. I understand that. Because I feel that, I feel that way all the time. Well, men wanting to have, I guess men and women. Never mind. Let's move on.
Could be, we want that feminine, nurturing energy in them. You can kind of be a degenerate woman and have a hot body and be a millionaire on OnlyFans. Yes. Men don't have that privilege. Now, women don't have to work to get a guy. They're just hot. And then guys come to them and spend their resources on them. A man has to prove himself. He has to build a body. He has to make money. He has to build influence. He has to become a protector, a provider. Women just have that naturally by just having a vagina, as I said.
That's why it's frustrating, because the feminist movement has been all about women acting like they don't have rights and acting like they have it pretty hard in the modern day world. I can't think of a single thing that I don't have that a guy has, or that
Yep, the response will be abortion. Look, that's a fair issue. It just is the case that if you are capable of getting pregnant, you are going to pay. You inherently carry more risk. So there does need to be legal differences between people who cannot carry children, men, and women. So, that's fair. But beyond that, beyond abortion, I really don't see I don't know of any legal differences between men and women on which men have the advantage, because like the woman said at the beginning, women have affirmative action and like all these, women in engineering and women in business and all this stuff, which, for better or worse, is definitely an advantage to those individual women.
I would say the one thing I would say is the safety thing. That's the only thing that I would say, is that women are disadvantaged from. By nature, women are not as physically strong. I mean, you're physically strong, but as physically strong.
I'll take it.
It's great biceps. And men just are. And if you're walking down a dark alley as a woman,
for some reason, it's every time the camera pans to this woman, it's very distracting. Her red dress, I think, is just the shoulders. There's just something about that is just distracting. I don't know.
You're going to feel some type of way sometimes,
That's
right?
why we need guns.
Well, there you go.
I'm going to talk a little bit more about like the judicial system. When it comes to, let's say, domestic dispute, if a woman calls the police, they automatically show up, arrest the man. The Duluth model, I think is how you pronounced it. And that's already in place. It's not necessarily like a right or anything, but it's certainly in all of the police departments. Is if feminism is all about equality, why would you automatically arrest a man? When they arrest him, his name is in the newspaper automatically. The fact that a woman can say Jane Doe and she doesn't have to put her name out there, what skin in the game is there?
And there's so many instances of that. I know men personally who have had domestic violence within the relationship with children involved, unfortunately. And the woman attacked the man in front of the child, and he's still, I know 2 instances personally, and he's still fighting to get the child back. That's from the Me Too movement. Congratulations. You guys got that.
It kind of invalidates the women who do come forward and who have faced rape and sexual assault and all of that, because then it kind of turned into a Twitter hashtag.
That's correct.
Where women were like, oh, you know what, I'm going to join, like, this seems fun. Like,
For clout.
it's not
For
fun.
clout.
I think it's a mixed bag. I don't think the Me Too movement was inherently harmful. It's the Me Too movement when you couple it with something like believe all women. That's when it becomes
And the victimization.
Believe all woman, AKA the dumbest phrase anyone's ever came up with, aside from abolish the police.
The prompt is, do women have more privileges? We have privileges simply by virtue of being women. We have privileges with affirmative action. We have privileges in family court, and we have privileges as far as being believed and forgiven. It's that's something that should be acknowledged.
That's correct.
Can I have the disagreeer step forward?
All these beta males.
Distinction of more versus.
Oh, wait.
I appreciated the distinction of more versus.
Dude, male feminists are honestly just the most feminine people around. I swear to God. This tropical mango hard seltzer is delicious, by the way. I'd even say fabulous.
Versus different privileges. You can't just use a broad brush and paint the entire debate and say, all right, well, this is men have more than women, that's it. Like, women that must inherently then have no privileges. That's not how it works. And that's where we start to get into the idea of like intersectionality, where another woman who had a different experience, if it was a trans woman, if it was a woman of color, if it was
But
a
I
woman
don't
who
think
was...
we're including trans women into feminism.
And I
That's
think
a
we definitely
whole
should.
I don't
Like-
think we should
I don't think
at
we
all. I think that trans women should not be a part of the feminist movement because a man, just because they, wake up and feel like they can be a woman one day, could come in and then suddenly know what it's like to have a period or know what it's like to have a child. It's anything from men replacing.
Yeah, trans women are definitely not female. That's for sure. And I think that's what most of this conversation is based around. So that makes sense. I don't even think most trans women would say, oh, I'm female. I literally am the different sex. No. It's a different presentation, but it's not a denial of reality. Some of them do, obviously. The extremist gender ideologues, but no, most people are. I think most people would agree with this.
Replacing women in sports to men replacing women on podcasts during Women's Month and when we're talking about women's health, or you've even got biological men who think they're women going to the White House speaking on behalf of all women.
Yeah, that's nuts. That Dylan Mulvaney shit is nuts. And look, I'm not saying that women are the weaker sex, but my God, if you just sit back and allow a man to come out and play out the most caricatured stereotypes and then have that man represent women to the White House, and you just sit by and let that happen, that's some weak ass shit. And clearly women are not the weaker sex because there are women who speak out against it. So just, I'm just baiting people to get upset, that's all.
You, based on the prompt, though, because you've lived in both experiences, at least socially, I'm curious, when you transitioned to male and people started perceiving you as male, like most people did today, what privileges changed for you, or what did you see enter your life that you didn't have before?
Yeah, and that's sort of where a lot of my beliefs in feminism do lie, is because being...
So this dude was a female, well, is a female technically, but this dude looks like a man, so I'll call him a dude. Which is interesting because he sounded kind of feminine when he first started talking, so, But let's hear what he has to say.
Out into the world as a gay woman was the way I was seen. Men treated me definitely not nearly as well as they did. I was bullied in school. I had people call me slurs, and it seemed like it was because I was threatening to like the male structure that we are in, where it's like male and female. Because I was a female who liked females, I was somehow infringing on that, and so they didn't like me. Things changed.
There is nothing more sacred than the friendship between a straight male and a lesbian woman. And I'm speaking from experience. One of my mentors, one of the people who have walked me through the most difficult parts of my life, Jewish lesbian woman. And that is why I will never go along with the conservative, far-right, whatever you want to call it, movement of we're going to ban gay marriage and we're going to say that being gay is a sin. It's like, listen, bro, I will cast you out before I cast the people who've helped me in life out. Anyway.
Change naturally when you socially transition and are perceived by the world in a different way. When I transitioned from being perceived as female to the world to just pretty much passing or blending full-time as male, was that I got a lot more respect from other men. People listened to me and took me seriously. In a social passing setting, people aren't going to harass women who are around me if I'm walking with them at night, which is just a benefit I never thought about.
If they're big enough and they're armed and they're aggressive enough, this is one of those nonsense things about, well, if you're a woman, you can't walk in at night by yourself. Bro, if you're a man and you're in a bad neighborhood, you can't walk by yourself at night. Are you joking? You think I'm gonna put up a huge fight? No, I'm gonna get my ass whooped too. So this argument's nuts to me.
Pretty odd, actually. So I say that, yes, there are some privileges that women have that men don't, but also there's privileges that men have that women don't. I don't think women are more privileged in our society because I could get a woman pregnant and I could just run away.
They could get you
Well,
for
they can get you
child
for child support, which they
But
do.
are you saying she can't run away?
Are
Are you saying she
take
can't
your
run away
money.
from the pregnancy?
But you could actually physically leave. I know what you're saying.
At the end of the day, I don't see women having more privileges than men because we don't have the same, there's no way to objectively measure it.
Well, and in the scenario that you pointed out, I mean, if a woman was pregnant, she wouldn't be able to get an abortion in most
In some
parts
states,
of the country.
yes.
Yeah.
In some states,
That's
That's a major disadvantage.
Yeah.
You can't get an
Corner case.
abortion, but children can go get a gender change at 12 with a
Feels
parent
like you're
at
very
15
fixated on that.
without consent.
That's not true.
It feels like you're very
as someone
fixated
who
on
went
that.
I know the laws as well.
I went through this.
I know, in some states you can, and in Thailand you can go at 16 and get your everything cut off.
Guys, it's less than 5%.
I know.
It
It's such a
doesn't
small-
matter.
it's such a small
It doesn't
subset
matter.
of the
Let's be
population.
But you can't say that about, it does matter though. When you have a child, you're not a
That's
parent
between
yet.
the parent and the child.
Can I ask you a question though, or ask the group a question? There's more world leaders who are male, and typically I think
Good,
leadership.
that's a good thing.
I know it's
Well, he
weird
was
coming
talking
from
to
me,
me.
but I do want to know, it doesn't bum you out that it's less likely for a woman to become president?
I don't feel bummed out because I know that if I want to pursue something that I want to do, I have every capability to do it in this country.
I don't feel bummed out. Women should not be in positions of extreme leadership like presidents, et cetera, because we're too emotional.
I'm
Men are
feeling a lot of
emotional too.
emotions
Men
right
can be
now.
impulsive.
I'm not.
Maybe you're too emotional. Does it bum... Speaking as a man, I'll speak on behalf of women, as we have done for centuries. Would it bum women out that there's less women presidents? I don't know. Would it bum men out that there's less male preschool teachers who have an opportunity to influence, young kids positively and be a male role model? It's like, as long as what that one girl said, if you want to pursue something and there are no systemic barriers in your way or minimal systemic barriers in your way, that's what's important. So, there's less total female leaders. It's like, okay, well, again, it's each sex has their own blessings and curses. As long as we eliminate these systemic barriers, that should be the only goal.
I'm not saying that men can't be emotional.
Like we had a
Men are
president,
more
we had a
logical.
president who would literally just.
And now
Oh, and the point about women being too emotional for leadership. Some women are, surely, and some men are, surely. And maybe on average, you can say that on average, women are higher in sensitivity to negative emotion, which is a technically true statement if you accept the validity of the Big Five personality model, which everyone who studies psychology does. But again, it's based on the individual. There are plenty. Ronda Rousey could probably do a lot of things that these anti-feminist women would say only men can do. So, individualism, baby.
Go on Twitter every day, every second.
Wait, one person so she can hear us.
To be logical and to be sound, It's not something defined by gender. It's just something defined by your own psychology.
The left and right brained, it
That's just
actually
false.
is, though.
That's
That's
just
not
false.
false. It's not
Come
false.
on, man.
It is
Come on.
not
Really?
false.
Really?
I know. Your question about leadership, I think, is a very poignant question because a lot of people are asking that. Why don't we see more female presidents? Why don't we see more female CEOs or Fortune 500 companies? And again, it goes back to those gender differences. There will be women who will be exceptions to the generalized rule of what it means to be feminine. And those women you will see succeed in extreme leadership.
She's just stealing my talking points. This is such bullshit.
But we should also discuss
kidding.
what the conditions of extreme leadership are. We're talking 80-hour work weeks, subscribing yourself to your career and nothing else.
Foregoing family
and
children.
Psychologically and biologically, women tend to lean in the direction of not making those choices for themselves, while men are highly competitive, they are highly analytical, systematic, they're willing to put in that time and take extreme measures to gain career status.
Exactly.
But in an
Perfectly
egalitarian
said.
society, it's about having that choice to make that decision. And
Yes,
that's what
right.
feminism
But we
is
do,
about. It's
but
about
we already
having-
have that choice.
We
If-
do have
if
that
I want to
choice.
go own my own company, I
it's being
can.
restricted.
Like I said in the beginning, we've all agreed that the beginning of feminism was going in the right
Humanizing
direction.
women,
It
right?
was humanizing women. It was making them equal to men. It was giving us the same opportunities so that we can go vote, so that I can go get a job, so that I can drive a ar. Like
She can
there's
run for
other
president if
countries
she wants.
that I
That's
know that
good.
we
It's
weren't
good that
talking
women
about
can
other
drive.
countries,
It's
but
good,
if you
in
want to
my
talk
opinion.
about feminism, go protect the women who get beat up for driving a car
Thank
in
you.
other countries.
Men are falling behind in society.
By every objective measure, yes.
I just think, I mean, we have amazing men here today. It's an honor
thank
to
you.
be on this
You
panel
barely
with
know
you to see this masculine energy. However, I know that men are not able to be men anymore because of the feminists, modern feminist propaganda. I coach men in my practice and they tell me like,
Please do not look exactly where my eyes are pointing during this video, okay? Just watch the video as such.
I don't even know what I can do on a date anymore. Can I ask a woman out? Am I gonna get in trouble for this now? Like, I really like her. I kind of want to put my hand around her waist, but maybe that's gonna, I'm gonna be all over social media, this kind of thing. And I think men don't have the balls anymore to just stand up and be a man, be dangerous, be fierce.
Right.
I want to respond to a lot of what you
Respond.
said.
Please.
Does anybody else want?
You make a really interesting point. However, I feel like a lot of the reasons why men can't actively express masculinity in a positive way is because of the patriarchal structures that we have. Part of where I'm coming from with this is I'm trans. So I was born female. Now I present as male. I came out socially and medically transitioned at 18.
Okay.
The feminist movement is what helped me feel empowered enough to be who I am and
Okay.
be a man.
And no disrespect to your process. I know it's a very strenuous thing that you go through, but I see a woman still. I feel feminine energy from you.
That's all right. I
And
totally
so when you
respect
say
that.
you're a man, then it's
Yeah.
like, I don't see that.
The way I think about it is more
Bro.
like about individual choice.
I would call that guy a dude just because he looks like a dude, and it takes more mental effort to think otherwise. And it's the same reason why Blair White and Caitlyn Jenner, I'll call them female or her, even though they're not females. And it's the same reason why I will not call Leah Thomas or Dylan Mulvaney, who just puts on a caricature of a woman. Oh, well, that's a her. No. I will call you he and her based on my subjective interpretation of what you look like. And anyone who wants to impose their perspective on what I need to call someone else, it's like, no. It's up to me. Go F yourself, either side.
An individual freedom. And if I want to say that I have feminine energy and people view me as masculine or vice versa, then that's their problem. That's not my problem. And for me, that's what feminism is about giving people the choice to act in accordance with however the hell they want to.
But that's a
not
very
how
dangerous
feminism
society.
started. That's
to
not how
say.
feminism started, though. Yeah, we went from, wanting equal rights for women and equality for women, and now it's
Humanizing
kind of
women, right?
humanizing women,
Yes.
making it to where I think we all agree, women now are equal to men, and with like third and fourth wave feminism, especially fourth wave feminism, it's kind of turned into individuality, like you said.
It doesn't take a man to tell me how to be a man. It doesn't take a woman either. I can define myself as a man how I want to. I don't need somebody like Andrew Tate to be like,
Can
"You're not a man in a
you?
relationship."
Isn't the idea of a man a social role that has developed over thousands of years in different cultures, but each culture has their understanding of what a man and what a woman is in a society, and the reason those cultures have made it through the ages is because the role that they defined had some validity to it. Like the man being a provider, is okay, that's stereotypical, but generally speaking, if a lot of men are providing, well, that's good for society. And as long as each individual does not face systemic barriers in the pursuit of their own choice, that's the key here. But if we accept that males and females have, on average, different perspectives or different goals in life, again, on average, meaning with millions of exceptions, but if we accept that, then we should be okay with having different outcomes and having general archetypes or stereotypes, because sometimes those are not obviously differentiated, that are different for men and women. I think that's fine.
Do this. I also don't need a woman to come up and be like, you're not a real man if you don't do this. And it's the same with femininity. I'm not going to tell you how to be a woman. I don't think another woman should tell you how to be a woman either.
Yeah, like you have a daughter. Do you really want to be guided by the ambiguous, define yourself as however you want to define yourself, and for her mind to be molded and shaped by men who, no disrespect, women who turn themselves into men and then turn themselves back and say there's a lot of dissatisfaction when the root of the problem wasn't the gender, it was everything else.
There's actually
Let's slow
very,
down, though.
very
I
low
feel like
I
rates
looked at
of
the percentages.
detransitioning, but that's
I looked at
neither here nor there.
percentages.
That's also a minority of the population.
Feels like you're bundling a lot of ideas, which makes it hard to respond. But
Well, because there's so much data to support
can you
these.
repeat what's the main question?
Do you
want me
want
to
your
answer?
daughter's mind to be formed and shaped by a society that tells her it's okay to be masculine and to be a man, and that she doesn't need a man, and that it's better off for her to be alone and put her career first and not have children?
I think it's more likely than not that she'll probably follow a more conventional path. If my daughter grows up and she wants to dress like a boy, like great. If she, for whatever reason, is experiencing gender dysphoria, like we would navigate that together. But that, to me, it doesn't scare me. And I would all the more want to live in a world that...
I feel like that's sad because
Why,
it's
though?
because my
That man is wearing Crocs. See, that's not fair. That's not fair that we're playing into stereotypes. The male feminists are wearing Crocs. It's just, I'm just kidding. That's fine.
I live in a world that...
I feel like that's sad because
Why,
it's
though?
because my son, I encourage him. I say, you are to be, and I really don't care the backlash. You're supposed to be attracted to women. And
Isn't
I
that
tell
a lot
him,
of pressure?
and I tell no, and I
That's
I
rough.
ask him,
That's
who are you?
weird.
Because life for transgender individuals, and my son's African American as well, is very freaking hard. I don't know if
Yeah,
we can swear. I'm sorry.
You can.
It's very hard. Do you
Freaking.
know this to be true?
Asking people or putting pressure on your son or putting pressure on my daughter...
Bro, if your kid is gay, your kid's gay. The worst thing you could do is have them be transgender and say, oh, well, my son is a little feminine, therefore he must be a girl. No, your son might be feminine, he may be gay, he may just be feminine. The last resort should be, let's give this person a sex change operation. Is this not obvious? Is this crazy? Am I crazy? Well, don't answer that. That's a separate question. But this seems obvious. This doesn't seem crazy.
To not...
I just tell him.
Although she seems a little odd about, well, you have to be attracted to women. Again, that is too far. That's weird.
Okay, but to not be their true self, if that's truly how they feel,
that's
it
not
feels
their
like
true
that
self.
would
No,
be...
it's- they're not their true
that's
self.
This like
Thank you.
that's this way. It's
Thank you.
society has influenced everybody to
correct.
be
We
are
like,
so off
you know,
problem.
When you say I can
I feel-
identify, I can be whatever I want. If I want to say, I'm Beyonce today, I can now just be Beyonce,
But do you
right?
actually believe that?
I do. I kind of feel like I don't
wait,
think
wait.
you
Can we
believe
talk
it.
about
The
the
prompt.
genuinely
Yeah,
believe
let's roll back.
The prompt's about
here's
men
the other-
falling behind.
Here's the other thing. Men are falling behind. Is it because of feminism, or is there socioeconomic factors that we're not looking at?
Well, how do we
Because,
define
well, no.
falling behind?
Let's
Yeah,
look,
what do you see as falling behind?
What's falling behind? So people in America, not just men, everybody is getting poor. This is nothing
guy
to
read
be
Well,
Marx.
that's
proud
not
of.
true.
No,
That's a mental state.
No,
You
it's
mean
not
that's
true.
a mentality.
This is economic data. We are
I'm
falling
not getting
behind.
that.
Well,
our
you can blame your president
And-
for that.
Okay,
and
back
the other
to the
thing is,
prompt.
what do you define as masculinity? It can be subjective
Tell
from
us,
culture to culture.
what do you define
I
masculinity
think masculinity is whatever you want it to be. It doesn't have to be this objective
How-
thing where it's like, oh, you're masculine, you're
How
not.
is
Like,
it- can it-
so it could be different from our society to another society. And actually, in some countries, like men who don't provide for their families or are not the sole provider are not seen
But
as
are we talking
masculine.
about other countries or are we talking about the
But
U.S.
even
right
here,
now?
actually, even here, there are people who will say that's demasculating for a man to make less money than his wife.
I appreciate everything everyone's saying. I do want to talk about the prompt. When I heard the prompt and I heard that, I thought about men falling behind, I thought more like mental health, like suicide is more common
Oh, we're
with
going
men.
to go here.
No,
Love
but it's
this one.
true.
What's wrong with
men
that?
It's such a
commit suicide
it's
at
not
higher
a cop out. Like
rates.
I'm not saying mental health isn't an issue. That it is an issue, and obviously a lot of men are experiencing a lot of pressure.
Have you heard like the
But-
term death of despair?
Men are committing suicide more. Men are
Right.
dying from alcohol-related illnesses more. and they're also dying from drug abuse and drug overdose more.
Correct.
And that's an increasing trend in society.
Yeah.
And then you
That's
see
true. It
educational
is true.
gaps.
No, there's no denying that like young men are abandoning colleges at a rapid
Yeah, it's a
rate.
lot of pressure to be
Well,
about.
good.
also
University
far
industrial
earlier than
complex is
women are
corrupt.
now. And
Yeah,
lots
women
of
are the
pressure.
least
Hold on,
obvious.
can I finish my point? Sorry. I'm like, don't let me lose my train of thought. They're abandoning colleges. Women make up, they enroll in college at a 60% rate. Women are earning more than men nowadays, right? So
I
Yeah,
don't agree
well,
with
no, that
not
is true.
hold on.
statistically.
We can get to the wage gap.
it's about enrollment. So are they having other jobs? Yeah, probably. But I'm saying like men are not going to these institutions. Why?
When you're saying lack of enrollment, there's more entrepreneurials in the entrepreneurial space than ever before in history. So I believe a lot of people are opting out of college as we had to pursue their ventures. So that could be part of the reason why the enrollment has declined.
Can I just go
But
back to a point that you
it's-
said really quick?
Yeah,
Where
go
you
ahead.
talked about
Yeah.
like the mental health of men and how
Me?
the
Yeah.
stigmatization of men addressing their mental health.
Yeah.
What system are we in that
Sure.
makes it so that men have this big
Patriarchy,
stigma around
the
our
answer
mental
to
health
all
where we can't
problems
talk
of the
about it
left.
and the suicide rate goes
So
up.
I'll
We
tell-
are in a patriarchal system.
Hold on, let me
That
tell you.
is
Let me
the-
tell you.
Those
So
are
the
those are the
way-
bounds we are within currently.
There's a lot
That's
of
toxic
Can I have
masculinity.
Mason complete his point? I'll encourage you to let the other person finish the point, and then, of course, you can take it forward,
Teach her how to
but
step
let them
in.
talk.
Just
Same
real quick,
thing.
the systemic structures we are in
Yes.
are patriarchy. That is what has caused men
Everything's
to have this
patriarchy.
massive stigma around mental
Is it
health,
bad?
where we don't feel
Yes.
empowered to reach out. Men tend to
Patriarchy.
not go to therapy. That leads
Is
to
it good?
suicide. That leads to all of these big things. That's not caused by
Something
feminism.
else.
That was happening well before the
So,
feminist movement
hold on.
came into these
Let
new
him finish.
waves.
There's a lot of psychiatrists, psychologists, and economists, professors, all these people coming out saying that the actual psychology department is feminized. I know.
No, I'm processing what you're saying.
The psychology
It's weird, but the
department?
way that everything's processed is for women. So women and men process information differently.
2015,
Men are
what is
like
it now?
this in their brain. Women are. It's all over. And like, what the hell does that mean?
Well, it's
It
left
means
brain, right
that
brain
When you
usage.
I wish it was
process
that
like
simple.
men need to solve the problem
Correct.
before they can process the emotion.
Women are emotional.
react
My
on
wing
emotion
woman.
all
Yeah,
the
that's
time.
it.
But so women have a tendency, not a tendency, they do better with talk therapy. That doesn't always work for men. Men do better when they are kind of working with a coach or somebody that's going to be like, this is what you have to do, and then come
Like
back
massive
see how you
action
did.
steps.
That's why mentors
So-
work. That's why men
He
need.
had a thought though. Can we let
Yeah.
him finish his
So,
thought?
the same problems with the military, a lot of the suicide rate. Even though there is therapy services, they're actually actively discouraged. And it's because of this masculine energy in the military, because it is still, even to this day, a very ultra masculine institution. And there's these negative energies saying like, hey, no, you shouldn't like go talk. That's what these fucking do.
But that's
But-
toxic
Well, it's
masculinity.
interesting
Yeah.
that
Right.
But-
As someone who's been to therapy, the idea that men can't go to therapy is simpleton thought. Patriarchal or otherwise, it's just simpleton thought. So that would be a good example of actual toxic masculinity, sure.
It
That's
comes
not
from
patriarchy.
it comes from a
There's a
place of
difference.
no, it comes from a place where it's like, oh, that's not what men do. Just suck it up and push on, and that's why a lot of these guys end up killing themselves.
But what branch were you in? Can I ask?
I was in the army.
Okay.
I was,
So you're an athlete, correct? And in the military, what is in the military that makes everything work within the military? It's a structure, right?
yes, it's a structure.
It's a system, right? Who runs the military? Who is at the very top
White
of the
people.
command?
Oh, the commander in chief, the
Correct.
president of the United States.
Oh.
A couple
But,
hundred
but,
years.
but I'm making a point here. So there's one person at the very top. Even if you take the commander in chief away, there's your general, right? Then there's lieutenant general, there's corporal, and I forget the
Brigadier general,
all those
technically, that's
privates,
fine.
et
It's not a
cetera.
big deal.
There's a system. One person is at the top of that system, and he has supporting members underneath him, all the way down to private. And that's what patriarchy was, quote, patriarchy was designed. It's a system of one person taking a leadership position, and they make decisions for the greater good, utilitarianism of all, meaning the
This is a very interesting way of describing the importance and necessity and inevitability of hierarchy, which I agree with. I would choose very different words than she is using. What did she just say there at the end?
and they make decisions for the greater good, utilitarianism of all, meaning
Greater good utilitarianism. Just throw that in there. That's fine.
the family unit.
That's not really what
That-
patriarchy
and actually,
means.
that's
It
that's
is.
a
I
very-
looked
that's-
up the definition,
That's
actually.
actually a very
I
ideal
literally
one.
looked it up yesterday.
I feel
No, you're
I
good.
feel like
I got
I really
lost.
need the male feminists also to respond because I feel like they've spoken 20%. Once they're done with their thought, feel free to interrupt, but let them finish a sentence.
Okay, I want to
Damn.
talk. I'm gonna talk. I mean, I do think men are falling behind. I feel like the world is just changing in a way where men don't have like a natural place to fit in, or it's not as intuitive as it used to be. And I think men are alone. I heard you throw out the word loneliness, and that does feel true. I just don't think that feminism did that. I just think like the world is changing.
What you said really resonated with me when we define falling
I agree. I think socioeconomic conditions, I think the material conditions have changed in a significant way because of social media, because everyone's in their bubble, work from home. You know, people aren't in communities. That's a real problem. So I wouldn't put it squarely at the feet of feminism either, whatever that means.
behind. What I think about with men is that high suicide rate, that likeliness and proclivity towards violence and aggression. I think about loneliness and not being in relationships with which young men are struggling with a lot right now. And where I feel finding common ground and feminism does get right in a sense is that we should expand our horizons as far as how we view masculinity. Men should be able to cry, they should be able to be vulnerable, and that's something that we need to access. But also, these men who are feeling disillusioned with the world right now, they are seeking out male figures. We've seen, you know, the rise of the Jordan Petersons or some of the personalities at the Daily Wire or the Andrew Tates. They are seeking out somebody who's telling
The personalities
them,
of the
"I
Daily
want you to
Wire,
act
Ben Shapiro? Are people going to Ben Shapiro for masculine role models? No wonder we're losing to China.
access those masculine traits and harness them in a way." I would say Jordan Peterson's probably a more healthy role model for men than, say, an Andrew Tate, but men are going towards these more aggressive,
Glad we can agree on that.
masculinized traits and seeking out men that are trying to harness that for them.
Yeah.
I thought you made a really great point that I totally agree with, where men are looking for these role models of how to embody masculinity because we are falling behind and a lot of people don't know how to act. What's really important, and what I've seen, at least in my experience, like feminism bring up, is the idea of like Justin Baldoni doing his talk about being man enough for your woman, being man enough to be emotional, being man enough to support children. That's the type of manliness and masculinity I think needs to be embodied so that men can catch up and feel like there's a place for them. That's something that we need to focus on, is making sure that people know how to embody masculinity in a way that's going to be beneficial for everyone.
Elite.
Female sex workers should be more respected.
Ooh, more is relative. Should they be respected? I mean, everyone deserves respect because they're human beings, but I don't think sex work... Oh, God. Let me think for a second here. I'd probably stand back just because I need to hear the conversation develop. I don't know.
I don't know a ton about this topic, but
Neither do I.
I subscribe to the idea that legitimizing sex work reduces the safety risks associated with that profession.
Probably.
It's a very old profession. It's been around for a while.
It's going to continue to be around.
I think it's also, there's tools out there like OnlyFans that I think has put a lot of the power in the hands of the creators.
Here's my general thoughts. I don't think it should be illegal, but I don't know. Culturally, it doesn't seem like I would... God. I have had too many hard seltzers to formulate my thoughts around this, so I'm just going to react. Never mind.
Creators.
A lot of people don't realize, like, nobody like actively chooses to be in sex work. You're usually going to sex work because of social situations, and if it's a black market, most people ask why I joined the military. It's like, because I was poor. Like, there was no other fucking reason. And I'm not saying it would get rid of exploitation, but if women have legal protections, like if I was a prostitute and I could go up to a cop and say, hey, I got beat up and my money stolen, not being worried about being arrested, like I would be more likely to report crimes and get the people who are causing problems.
Yeah, and then for the people who just want to do
Right.
it and want to just like own their sexuality, own their body, and use it as a commodity, a way to make money, they should be able to do that in a way that is safe, in a way that they own all of the videos, all of the content that they make, and in a way that is equitable for them.
When it comes to respect, there's two definitions. Respect either can mean like politeness, like you wouldn't shut the door on somebody that's like walking behind you, like be respectful. The other respect is usually if you do something that in the workplace that garners approval, you've completed a goal. So when we talk about respect when it comes to sex workers, should we be polite to them? Probably. That would be a human thing to do. I don't have to, but yeah. I prefer OnlyFans over the traditional porn industry.
Yeah, because you own it, and then it's
women
a lot
got
more protected.
sex trafficked.
But that agency is important to
I
know
think
that it's
so,
what
yeah.
you own, and to have that respect put onto you that like this is your content you're putting out into the world.
Yeah, now it's their copyrighted material.
This is why I don't call the videos I put out content. It's like, so I'm going to use the same word to describe OnlyFans videos as the word I put out. Content is way too broad of a term. I'm a content creator. Oh, well, if OnlyFans counts as that, well, then I should expand the domain of my content creation because that could be profitable.
Before, when it was the old porn industry, they didn't have rights to those videos. And that's a huge thing. Like, if I want to take my stuff down, you have to go to a court with a copyright case. And it just...
That's what happened with Mia Khalifa. That was her whole thing. And luckily, now she has a very successful career doing like sports commentating and stuff. But unfortunately, that's not the rule, that's the exception, where she's been able to be successful.
But it's a role model.
Right off the bat, you said Mia Khalifa went from being a porn star to being a sports commentator. That is something that we should be directing women towards. It shouldn't be, okay, well, she's gonna go do an OnlyFans or she's gonna be in 50 porn videos to get paid. When we're encouraging women to go out of their way to sell their bodies on the internet because that's a means to an end, we're not doing that the right way, and I don't think the feminist movement should be moving in the direction of normalizing sex work when we should be encouraging women to value themselves, value their body, value their talent, and take that elsewhere.
There's a lot of things in place, though, for women. Like, yeah, there's obviously a need if they're in maybe a lower economic class or something, but at the end of the day, that's more of like a morality topic, and so you can't really force that on everybody. I agree with you.
Right. The other thing would be is that women are not happy when they're doing this. It's not empowering as a woman. You can go on Twitter and see these women who are in their 30s with an OnlyFans link in their bio, but with no kids, no husband, no specific thing to actually care about. It's all about materialistic things. These are the same women that you're seeing tweeting about how sad they are. They're tweeting about how it's not generalized. It's the majority of those women. They are on antidepressants.
I'd like to speak because I've actually been in the industry. So I was trafficked for a decade. You hit the nail. That's okay. You hit the nail on the head. I came from a very poor socioeconomic background. I was a product of the state. And so I speak from experience when I say it's not empowering, it's not glorifying, it's not owning your body. None of that stuff is true. No little girl when they're 4 or 5 says, I want to grow up and be a hooker. OnlyFans is the biggest pimp of them all. They're still taking 20%, and your content still gets leaked a lot.
I agree. I'm not in favor of any kind of exploitation. I also am uncomfortable by the idea of like women I know if they were in that industry, like I admit, like it makes me feel uncomfortable. My gut instinct.
So you have a daughter. I'm going to be having a daughter in 4 months.
Let's just go back to the daughter.
Well, I mean, it's a good question because you're raising a human being for the future of society that we're going to all shape. How does it make you feel to raise a daughter in a world where you can either preserve, you can either preserve her innocence, or you can step away and let her do the OnlyFans
How about respect
thing.
femininity?
It's a great question, and there's two truths. There's two truths that I feel like I can hold at the same time. One is I would be very uncomfortable if any female relative was, or person that I loved, was exploring that profession. Like I would have
you can't even say it.
I'm trying to be as like professional as I can.
Yeah, as a father specifically.
No. I don't think that I'd fail. I would have complex feelings to navigate. Yeah. On a higher level, I don't think that there's.
Oh, how would you feel if your daughter was doing OnlyFans? Let's just say I'd have complex feelings to navigate. Oh, yes. Let's just say that and nothing more. That's funny.
Is anything inherently wrong with that?
It's like, how would you feel if someone killed one of your relatives? I'd have complex feelings to navigate. That's a good answer. I'm going to start using that going forward.
Profession, and I respect people who do it in a way that's fulfilling to them and that brings them happiness. If someone's doing that job and it doesn't bring them joy, obviously I would not.
But most of the
them.
women
but you have to
understand
it's not bringing value or happiness to women.
I'm just trying not to wrap it all into one bundle because there's going to be exceptions. I think you just want to be careful of like putting a negative label over like so many people's lives.
I think it should be negative though, so that young daughters don't run to her. And why don't we more respect
them enough
for femininity
to love them,
versus
to
respect for sex work?
Damn.
Men should take birth control.
Men should take men should wear birth control. How does a male take birth control?
That's an interesting one.
Do we have a male pill invented yet?
Well, male birth control does exist. The problem is there hasn't been a lot of funding into
Right.
making it commercially available. It's about making it an equal responsibility all around, especially if there's a more effective way, like a pill. They can't just whine about the side effects when they know that it can significantly decrease a woman's quality of life when she's dealing with all those
Her
side effects.
chance of
I agree with
fertility, her chances of, I've never been on birth control, and I don't believe in taking it. I don't believe in putting anything that alters my body. I'm not saying either party should have it, because personally, I don't think that anyone should put that stuff in their body. But if one's gonna do it, and then the other one should have the option of doing it.
Yeah, if we're in a world where women have the access to it and men have the access to it, should is just such a strong word.
so strong.
Make the choice for your own body. That's why I didn't walk
Yeah.
forward. But yeah, if you both have the option.
If men had the right to birth control, then they would ultimately be coinciding and deciding if a child should come to life. Right now, women ultimately
Have all
have
the
that
power.
decision. No matter what you say, she gets to decide if she goes through with it or not. And I think that's kind of problematic for many reasons, but yeah.
It goes back to why I stepped forward with the military draft. Everyone needs to take responsibility for people's sexual and reproductive health.
But are you saying that because you know that women would want a guy to take birth control? That's more of you want to please the feminists?
Please myself, because I'm a feminist.
That's what I'm saying. I'm saying male feminists have a tendency to have the talking points, and they're women want us to take the birth control, so I guess we will, but do you actually think that you would?
Why wouldn't I?
Why don't you get a vasectomy?
I did.
Did you?
I have a vasectomy.
So there he did it. All right.
Okay, yes.
I decided to get a vasectomy because
All right, this is not that interesting.
Men need to be masculine to keep their families safe.
Yeah, depending on what you mean by masculine. If you mean strong and aggressive when necessary, yeah, you need to be able to beat the shit out of someone who's coming for your kids. Is that even controversial? Who disagrees?
Of course he's going to step forward. Look at him. I think there's a reason why
I like
people
this
love
woman.
Andrew Tate. And whatever you think about him in regards to what he's being
This
accused
woman's
of, which
great.
he has not been proven,
Janelle.
but that's neither here nor there,
Janelle.
men gravitated toward that. Why? Because he spoke to men in a sense of being a man, being a protector, and you have to be in charge of all your faculties and think more critically. So those aspects of masculinity appealed to men because men want to innately protect. If I go on a date and you take me out on a date and he's like, no, I wouldn't, but that's okay. And you take me to a dinner and you don't sit facing the door, I'm never going out on another date with you. It's not like we're helpless, I can't do anything, but having a man stand by you, protect you and your
Wait,
family
what?
and
What
your
did she
children.
say? If you-
Masculinity is very important.
If you don't sit facing the door, Malcolm X did that. You never go into a restaurant and have your back to the door. That's actually a smart move. She's woke in the real sense, the cool sense.
There are situations, for example, I'm 230 pounds, my girlfriend's 110, 5'2". There's no way if somebody breaks in the house that she's gonna fight them off, unless she has a gun on her or something. But so in that situation, I would fill that masculine role. But anybody can be strong. Anybody, in a situation where I'm not there, I would hope if we had kids, she could protect them and defend them the best she could. Where I get the issue with men need to be masculine. It's men need to always go work and bring the money and all this stuff. Because my girlfriend, she's highly educated. She actually makes way more money than I do, way more. I work as a personal trainer. I don't make as much.
Personally, that would be the dream, to be honest. If I could be married to a woman who was making more money and I could just spend my time doing animal behavior science and going to the Congo and researching chimpanzees and the relationship between our primate cousins and our human selves, and seeing the universal experience that is shared across consciousness, proto-consciousness, and others. That'd be awesome, in my opinion.
As she does, it is traditionally not very masculine for a woman to make more money than a man. And I know some people, they will be like, oh, you're not a real man if your woman makes more money than you. That's pathetic. Why is she with you? You sound like a loser. Things like that. And I don't let that define my masculinity. I used to be insecure about it, but now I've grown more mature, and I feel like we're getting to a society where that's less of a problem. and like some people might disagree with this.
That didn't sound that convincing, but I'm gonna go with I believe him. That's how he normally talks, but I don't know. I could be projecting.
And like, but it's just my opinion. I think to raise a son, it's easier if you're a man. It doesn't have to be a father. It could be an uncle or some positive role model. Same thing with a positive female role model, because like, I don't know what it's like to be like a female going through puberty, but I was a young man. Right now, a lot of our young men are misguided, and a lot of them are making bad decisions. And it's because like a lot of these young men get this testosterone boost, their brains aren't fully developed, and they like, the vast majority of crimes are committed by 16 to 23-year-olds.
The reason I walk forward is about exactly what you just said. Men have these feelings and this aggression often deep inside them, and it's about using that aggression or those feelings that you have to protect rather than to inflict.
Right. Be a monster and then control it and use it for good ends, but you must be a monster. A rabbit cannot be a good. You can't be virtuous if you are weak, because you wouldn't be able to do anything. You can't impose your will on the world. You must be able to impose your will and then choose to impose it for the higher good, the highest good that you can imagine.
I guess I'm just not entirely sure what, like, just masculinity in general has to do with keeping people safe.
Could I quickly respond? And that I just think it's that men have that natural propensity towards it. If I think of roles in society that are protectors, we could say police officers, anybody who's going to take on that role of physical aggression in order to stop a bad situation from happening. Men tend to take those roles, and if you just look at the demographics of those roles in particular, men choose to take that on, and they persevere and drive for it.
Let's say I get married to a guy and he wants to be a stay-at-home dad. That's fine. I enjoy working. So I actually wouldn't be totally opposed to me grabbing the gun if an intruder came in and being the one to kill somebody, if my husband's normally like the one protecting the kids, I guess. I don't think it necessarily matters
What's going
who's
on here?
protecting the family, just somebody must.
I like what you said about intuition, though. Like, my wife has a lot of intuition. I think she's better than me at like helping us avoid unsafe situations.
But to physically combat a stranger that's at your door with a gun, a mask on, and is breaking in.
Yeah, it's convenient to have someone who's more like him than.
But would you send your wife,
But I
who's
just don't think
intuitive,
men-
to use her intuitive powers to handle that, to protect, or would you use your masculine? My kid is my daughter.
Go, use your intuition
Be
to fight
attacked.
this
I'm going to do
person
everything I
off.
can to protect my
That's-
family. That's not
Right.
men having to be masculine. I just think that's people protecting those they love. I think when women are put in situations where
That is fair. There's nothing more dangerous than a grizzly bear mother protecting her cubs. So, I do see that.
they have to protect their families, they can exert tremendous force. Obviously,
Sure.
they're more vulnerable because they're not typically like as strong on average.
Full of testosterone, right?
But
Why-
I just don't. I don't think like this is something men have to do. I think you gotta be careful about putting pressure on men to embody some sort of like macho, tough, violent.
I don't think it's macho.
I've had men in my life who like embody that tough role, and it like creates uncomfortable environments. It sometimes invites aggression, danger to the situation. It's a certain role playing that I think men actually, it's beneficial to grow out of.
Why do you think it's a role, though? What if that's just who they are?
It's innately in them.
Well,
Some
then I think they
people-
should go to therapy and work on it, or
But
like
why do
play
you
a
think
sport and get out
That's
that
true.
aggression.
So I understand.
Aggression isn't bad.
I always hear
That's
from
also
other
true.
male feminists like, oh, that guy's trying to be a macho guy. Why?
Okay,
Why
well,
is
so
it
here's the
insecure?
thing. I think sometimes it's not genuine. He's playing a character. Actually, I'm usually the one to de-escalate situations because of how I look and how I am presented. So I de-escalate. And actually, I always tell people I always encourage young men, avoid the fight.
Yeah.
If you can avoid it, stay away. But if you have to, obviously do what you have to do, like survive. And I would say to women or anything, but don't start and actually try to deter, get away, because violence should be always the last
Yeah,
resort.
it takes
Violence,
a humble
violence
man
only
to
brings
walk
more
away from a
violence.
fight.
The differences between men and women should be celebrated.
Let's get 100% agreement here. Oh,
I'm
you
talking about poles of energy. We have
wimps.
polarity in everything in the universe. From the battery, you can't put two negatives into a battery and it work. You can't put two positives. Has to go flop.
Epic.
So there's
Epic
poles
analogy.
day and night. Everything, yin yang. It's energy, and we are energy.
I don't think everything's polar though.
It
like,
is, though, and-
Why apply one lens?
Order and
to
chaos,
Just step
baby.
forward with the prompt that said that masculine
think-
men and women's differences should be celebrated.
I want to celebrate the difference between men and women, but I feel like you have this tendency to apply sometimes like these quantum or
Because
like
it is, because we live in a
these
quantum
macro
universe of
ideas
masculine and
to
feminine
everything.
energy.
What's
But you
going
guys
on?
do the same
Quantum?
thing too, though. You.
I think he's just saying to celebrate
I'm
differences
too many hard
doesn't mean
seltzers
they
in
exist
right
on
now.
two opposite poles.
How do we get to
And
quantum?
I'm
We've spent
and
our-
I'm saying that.
Yeah,
so
like,
I'm saying that.
There's things exist in nature that are triangles or triads. Like not everything's yin and yang, you know.
But it kind of is. I actually
Well,
believe that the
bro.
masculine energy
We just went to
is
metaphysics.
a little bit is elevated in a sense that they have more responsibility as protector provider, and so for women we like lean to them and we look up to them as the leader. So not to say that they're not equal, but there's a little bit more responsibility in the masculine field. And without those outlines of structure, then we have chaos and we don't have a society. We have no more children because women aren't having children anymore.
I don't think I fear chaos as much as you. You threw in a little nugget. I have to take.
Because you don't know what true chaos is. Just kidding, but not really.
You do see women as not.
I
you know,
don't.
on
I
the
don't
same
see
level.
them as the same
It-
level as
I
me.
just
You're right.
wouldn't. I would encourage you, like, from a loving place, to just maybe challenge that. Like, what?
I
how might
challenge
your?
all the
How
time.
might
That never works. I just would encourage you from the most loving place for you to try and understand how stupid you sound, right? That just doesn't work. Okay, don't ever say that. If you're gonna say something that is challenging to someone, say it to their face and preface it by saying, "Look, I respect you, so I respect you enough to be honest with you. I personally think you are wrong in these ways." Best way to do it. Don't couch it in. I lovingly encourage you to think about how you might be just so dumb compared to me. You know, it just, in my opinion, silly way to communicate.
your experience
I
change
think
if you saw
women.
yourself?
I think
Hold on,
women are
Keith.
4 quarters. A guy is $1. I think they're equal. They're just not the same.
Yeah, I think that the prompt and what I really took to is that it's so important for you guys to celebrate your femininity and celebrate what it means to be a woman for you, and we will joyfully celebrate that with you, right? And likewise to us. However we want to express our masculinity, that should be celebrated, right?
And, and whichever way you had to do it, and like I said, I don't think it's as rigid as like we want society, well, like some people want us to think it is, but it should be celebrated because there are innate differences that are like just biological, and there's going to be those differences, and there shouldn't be anything frowned upon, like women being like more softer or emotional. It shouldn't be something frowned upon. But if a man chooses to be that, that shouldn't be like, that's feminine, that's not masculine. That's we should celebrate those qualities in people.
Can they disagree a step forward?
Men are more enslaved than ever before.
This is a tough one, huh?
What?
I agree. With
In
what
Libya,
everyone
technically,
said.
that's
It's just
true.
a should. I agree that the differences between men and women can be celebrated, and I celebrate it. I think most people do to some extent. Do as you please. Yeah.
I feel like it's important to celebrate it.
In other words, moral relativism. No one should do anything. You should not necessarily stop. I don't know. I'm too many seltzers in it. Never mind.
Part of with gender dysphoria, I really enjoyed, emulating and having masculine traits and being a man. So being able to celebrate that and say, all right, fantastic, I can celebrate that this is a different thing than what my sex assigned at birth would tend to go for. But celebrating both sides of those things and the dichotomy that may be different is really essential to allowing anyone to really just express themselves the way they want to.
Thank you guys. You guys were all amazing.
Thank you.
Very good
Namaste.
Yeah, I wish we could do
Namaste.
Yeah, you
like
guys
5
did
more
great.
prompts.
Yeah, you guys is all very helpful.
Oh, man.
Got to see another side of feminism.
It's a really interesting debate. 35. Are you saying to please the feminists, please myself? Male feminists tend to have the talking points, but do you actually think? Why wouldn't I? I did. Classic. I think some of these anti-feminist women are confusing female privilege with pretty privilege, which is a valid thing. Ooh, that's true. Janelle, I don't believe in taking anything that alters my body. Also, damn, sexist. As someone with different views, I respect Amala and Tori for listening. If Janelle thinks women are too emotional and illogical, then why would anyone listen to her talking points? That's funny. Carolina. Jubilee is cynical AF for making men argue for feminism. It's borderline brilliant. It's classic. Amala and the blonde girl are the only ones whose women's sides who had an open mind and weren't attacking people. Amala is such a respectable debater. She's genuinely educated, open ears. Amala is based. Janelle has to be a social experiment. All right, this is so misogynistic. We can't keep this up. Anyway, that's a wild trip. I am going to take a couple of Benadryl and pass out. So anyway, good luck and Godspeed, everyone.